Cracking the Cash Flow Code. My guest today is Jeff Pedowitz. Jeff is the president and CEO of the Pettitist Group, and he's the author of the book AI Revenue Architect, a comprehensive guide to leveraging artificial intelligence for revenue growth. And I wanted to bring Jeff on because I think artificial intelligence is a really, really hot topic and something that you might want to know what works and what doesn't work and how you can make your business better using it. So let's bring Jeff on and start the conversation. Hey, Jeff, how are you today?
Great, Josh. Thank you for having me on the program.
My pleasure. So, first of all, what is artificial intelligence? Because everyone seems to have a different viewpoint of what it actually is.
It does get thrown around a lot, for sure, and it's a big word. Really, in its simplest form, it's really smart software and machines that can process data at an unbelievable pace and transform and produce outcomes that the human on their own would take much longer to do. Now, there's many different forms of artificial intelligence. I think this year, what's caught everybody's attention are things like ChatGPT and Bard, where you can actually talk to the machine through a conversation. You can type and interact, and you see your questions or your input get transformed into all this really cool stuff. Now, that is one form of artificial intelligence. But that's really what's capturing the hearts and minds of everybody, because for the first time, AI doesn't seem like it's something of science fiction out of reach of the common person. It seems like it's right here. We can finally touch it, interact with it, and we're using it in everyday things. Like we're using it to plan our kids' camp activities during the summer, or plan travel, or find recipes, or do very basic things that are fun. And it makes AI warmer. It makes it feel like it's something that we can all work with.
So, I've read and, anybody I talk to about AI is always saying, well, you better know what you're talking about to use AI because AI will often give you answers that are not correct. Specifically ChatGPT. So, do you have any comments around that?
Well, that is also true. I mean, these models have been training on a lot of data over many years. A lot of smart people have spent time putting that data in and training it, but it is only as good as the data that's put in. It's still a machine. It's still software. It was built by human beings, so there's flaws. There's logic. There's flaws in the logic. There's bias in the people that put the data in, the people that built the code that generates these things. So it really goes back to that old Reagan saying, right? Trust but verify. So these are powerful tools, but if you just take what it spits out and then just use it without checking it, well, then buyer beware, because really you do have to check it. But my own personal experience, about 80% of the time, it's pretty solid. 20% of the time, yeah, not so much, but 80% is still pretty good.
Yeah, if you ask it very specific questions, I find that it's quite good actually. It's when you
Yes,
ask
the
it
more
general
specific,
questions that
that's also true.
it will
Yeah,
often
although
spit
I
out
would
stuff.
say for most of us, when we have conversations, we're not thinking about the perfect question to ask the person that we're talking to with all the dangling participles and all that. But I think if you have a few thoughts and you could really be as descriptive as possible, yes, you will get a better output.
So, what are some of the applications of using AI to grow revenue and hopefully grow profits?
Yeah, and obviously that's my area of specialty, because my company works with companies all the time to figure out how to drive more revenue through technology and digital channels, and AI is a form of technology. So there are some very basic building blocks. Let's just start off with content creation and optimization. If you're in sales, trying to write the perfect email, for prospecting or following up with people, writing a better proposal. If you're in marketing, trying to come up with better campaigns, writing ad copy, coming up with new white papers and ebooks. There are platforms out there like Jasper or ChatSonic, which are very cost effective and can help you generate a lot of good content very quickly. So content optimization is absolutely one. Um, if you happen to
So,
use any type
Jeff, can
of
we go back and get a definition of what content optimization is? Because I'm going to guess some folks don't really quite know.
Yeah, absolutely. So, in marketing and sales, we are creating content all the time, right? We're creating sell sheets, scripts, ebooks, infographics, ads, blogs, articles, brochures, all many different kinds of content, videos, and so that we could reach our customers and our prospects in as many places as possible to evangelize and sell our products or services to them. But because there's so many different channels now, um, and it gets more and more complicated. I mean, today's sales and marketing person, it's not just like back when you and I were coming up. None of these channels were here. I mean, we would go to our customer's office, or they would come to ours, or we go out and play golf. That's pretty much how we did business. Right now, of course, you have email, you have social sites, and there are many. There's Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, and so as these channels proliferate, and we now have mobile devices, our customers are in many different places. And so it's not just a simple matter of coming up with a good piece of content. It's about being able to break it up into different pieces so it fits in the right place at the right time. So what I would send someone via LinkedIn would be very different than what I would do on YouTube, or very different than what I would do on Facebook. So the more content you're producing through the more channels, it becomes something else to manage. So content optimization makes that process much more efficient.
So if I'm a small business, I have maybe 10, 20 team members, and I don't have a lot of spare time. And I certainly don't have time to be everywhere on 18 different social channels. Could I go into ChatGPT or into one of these programs and say, for example, I'm an electrical contractor and I want to get my message in front of customers? What will be the most effective way for me to do that, and what channels are most effective? Would I likely get a reasonably good answer for that?
You most likely would get a reasonably good answer. You'd still have to verify it though. And it will probably also give you a bit of a almost an official legal trailer saying, well, we don't know your market or your customers or the conditions of which you're operating, but here are some ideas to get you started. And you can start to experiment. Um, there have been some established stories where people said, okay, ChatGPT, you're a business owner. Start a business with $10,000, and I want to generate this much profit per month. What would that be? And give me a 30, 60, 90-day plan to do that. And people have been following the instructions religiously day by day and starting to build a business. So, yes, it is entirely possible to do that. But again, it depends on what business you're in, what it's asking you to do. You still have to validate it. And then from there, ChatGPT is not going to do any of the other work for you. It's only going to give you the outline. You still have to go and do the things that it takes, right? It's not going to go raise capital for you. It's not going to call your customers. It's not going to build your product or service. So you still have to do that.
But it will help you build awareness.
Well, not by itself. It will give you
Or,
steps
or
and strategies to build awareness. And that if you take what it's telling you and try it out, it could save you time instead of you trying to figure it out for yourself. But you still have to do the work.
Okay. So let's move into ethical considerations. What kind of ethical considerations are important for folks to do with this? Because what I find, or what I've been reading, is uh, you might get yourself caught in a plagiarism trap. And uh, is it ethical to have a machine write your sales copy for you?
Well, I mean, there's definitely different sides to that. I mean, I think we certainly use Microsoft Word and other types of machines to help us, formulate to make our days more productive. We use calculators to help us add. Is that ethical? Because we're using a calculator versus our head. I think that if we're coming up with the input and the overall ideas, and we're using AI to help us shape our stories and improve our writing and produce it, I still think we're the human, we're the person that gets the credit. We just happen to be using software to help produce it. Uh, I think if you ask the machine to write it all by itself and come up with the whole thing, and you're not giving any interaction, and then you just take it verbatim, then I think that's more the machine that's doing the sourcing of the material. So ethically, it would be appropriate to say this was generated by, this was generated by AI, or it was generated with the assistance of AI. I think that's how I would approach that ethical dilemma. But another part of this is privacy. If you're using a public venue like ChatGPT or Bard, these are your information. Anything that you're typing is not secure. It's going into publicly available training models. So you got to be really careful if you're putting in sensitive company or client confidential data on that, because you could potentially expose your own business or your clients to something through that. So you have to take steps to take out company names or personally identifiable information before you put it into that. Now, if you use systems like Microsoft's Copilot, which is coming out soon, or Jasper or ChatSonic, these are private, secure models. That you're paying a license fee towards, and the data and the information you're putting in stays secure, stays encrypted. It's not going to ever go out into the public domain. And so that would be my advice. If you're going to start using this type of software in a heavier fashion, is to use something that's more secure.
Yeah, or if you don't really care if it goes into the public domain, go ahead and use ChatGPT. But what
Sure.
you're saying is if it's something that you don't want in the public domain, don't be using ChatGPT.
Exactly. I mean, look, a lot of this is common sense. The people listening to this podcast are business owners. Don't you take steps today to protect confidential information of your clients and your employees, and whatever you would do normally throughout business today, have operate under that same mindset when you're using AI. It doesn't really change. Ethics are ethics.
The other thing which I think is really important, or at least this is my experience, is that I can tell pretty easily right now when someone just took ChatGPT and threw it up on their webpage or in their sales thing because it does not read the way a good writer would write. It gets you about 70% of the way there, has been my experience. But boy, if you don't go through and do a serious edit on it, your customers are going to very rapidly be figuring out you're using machine language, and my bet is it's going to really turn them off. Is that your experience, Jeff?
Well, I think first of all, that assumes that people are actually even reading what you're writing. There's so much content out there now that I know
Well,
that people are going through it.
if I'm writing a proposal to you, I assume you're going to read it because you've asked for a proposal.
You'd be surprised, but
Okay.
I think. Well, I mean, for purposes of the argument, though, yeah, I think ChatGPT gets you along the way. I think if you are a good writer, using tools like this will make you a really great writer. I think if you're just a poor writer, this will just be passable, because you still have to go in and you have to edit it and add your style, and it can come off as stilted, or it will use some of the same words over and over again, or it can tend to write in a very formulaic way. But that's why these other platforms like Jasper and ChatSonic that are designed more for a specific purpose, which is writing. See, something like ChatGPT, while you can use it for writing, it's a ubiquitous model. You could use it for anything, right? You could use it for travel planning, recipes, business ideas. It's an open model. If you get AI that's been specifically trained and honed on writing, you're going to get a much better output from that application, because that's what its AI was trained to do. And so, while still not perfect, maybe it gets you 90% of the way there versus the 60 or 70% with ChatGPT.
Yeah, the other thing I would highly recommend is a program called Grammarly to use with
Yes.
your writing, because what it does, ChatGPT, you can say correct the grammar, and it really doesn't correct the grammar very well, but Grammarly does a much better job with that and will
It
catch the
absolutely does.
repeat words. And you know, I used to have the grammar police after me on a regular basis with my weekly newsletter, and since I've been using Grammarly, the grammar police have pretty much been leaving me alone. So that's um, a program. I mean, the last step of anything I ever do these days, I run through Grammarly. Does that make sense
Grammarly
to
is a
you?
great platform. We use it all the time internally. I mean, I have
Yeah.
it running on my email. Runs on Word. You have it up in a desktop all the time. And again, it's the little things, and we all don't realize some of the bad habits. Even if you're a good writer, I think Grammarly is like that. Really, just that sharp tool in your arsenal that will just make you that much better.
Yeah, it's a great tool. I love it. So, what are the latest trends and innovations in AI powered marketing? What's going on these days that is important that a small business could use without having a big marketing team?
Well, I mean, when something that's been out for a while now, for about 6 years, are chatbots. This is, and you might have seen this before. You go to a website, and a little bubble opens up, and you can start interacting with it. A lot of these are AI backed, meaning for the most common questions you can anticipate a customer prospect to ask, you have answers for that. So you can really engage the visitor. And so instead of them being on your site for 5 seconds, maybe you get them there for a couple of minutes. And then, of course, you can direct them to a sales rep. There's a lot of cost effective tools that are out there. A lot of small businesses use HubSpot, for example, and that you could use their built-in chat product. Google has one, so that's one that's really good. Again, writing platforms like Jasper and ChatSonic and a few others are really inexpensive and can help you write much better copy and content. You mentioned Grammarly, which a lot of people don't think about as being AI, but it is.
Most
And it
definitely
also
AI,
has,
no question about it.
um, and that, and so these are just some of the basic things like writing better proposals, writing better emails, uh, giving better presentations to your company or to your customers. I mean, if it helps you be more productive, the time that you spent putzing around with PowerPoint presentations and decks and proposals and statements of work and contracts, um, any of these AI related products, including ChatGPT, can make you 30% faster and more productive. That's a great place to start. So, any executive, if you can get 30% of your team's time back in a week and refocus it on other value added activities, that's a good thing.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So, how do you measure ROI in your marketing initiatives using AI?
Just like you'd measure anything else. For every dollar that you're putting in, what's your threshold that you want to get back? $5, $10, $15. Um, Instead of trying to focus on any individual channel, look at the overall mix because you'll drive yourself nuts that way, right? It's that's like saying, what's my ROI of email versus search, versus this. What I really want to know is for every dollar I spend in marketing, how many dollars of revenue am I getting back on an annualized basis? If that ratio is staying the same or improving each year, then whoever's running my marketing team's being a good steward of that capital for the business. I'm going to keep giving them more money.
So, does AI help you to scale your business well?
Absolutely, it does. We already talked about it. It helps you increase productivity. And so we're all trying to figure out how to do more with less. So if I can make my workforce 30% more productive just by applying some of these basic tools, if you did nothing else this year but buy Copilot when it comes out, you're gonna be blown away by what you're gonna be able to do in PowerPoint and Excel and Word, which are the applications that so many of us use all the time. But then beyond that, once you get the productivity down, being able to produce better content, being able to start develop new revenue streams, some of the processes that are associated with chasing revenue, campaign management, data management, lead scoring. These are today typically very manual processes with a lot of manual steps and manual documents. AI can automate all of those things today and streamline how you actually produce revenue. And that will also help you scale.
So, can you just give us a short explanation? Because almost everybody uses Word and Excel. How would Copilot help you with those programs?
Well, today, if you use Excel, you can grab templates off of Microsoft's site if you're trying to do budgeting or amortization and other things, and then you can start to model there. Um, so once the Copilot's turned on, you'll be able to generate those things in seconds. The formulas that you're trying to constantly perfect and get down, it will tell you how to write the perfect formula. You just talk in English what you want to do, and it will build the whole thing for you. Word, you want a suggestion for a new SOW outline, or you want to add more sections to your deliverables, or you want more tighter assumptions or contract language. it will be able to generate that for you in seconds. PowerPoint, which let's face it, we all use it. We're not thrilled with it when we have to watch it, but we still use it anyway. You'll be able to generate full PowerPoint decks within seconds, in your brand. And so something that might have taken you hours to prepare can now be done in literally 30 seconds. So those are just some of the quick wins that you're going to get by using Copilot.
When is that going to be available, do you think?
Uh, we thought it would be this month, but I think they're still working through beta.
Yeah.
But I would say definitely before the end of the year.
Okay. Cool. Cool. So let's, we only have a few minutes left, and let's talk a bit about the learning curve that you have to go through with any of the AIs. Like any new skill, you have to go from a beginner to an intermediate, and then maybe you'll get to advanced. But getting from beginner to intermediate is probably the first step you want to take. And how much time and how much effort does it take to do that?
Well, I suppose in part depends on what you're trying to do and what skill level you're doing. The best way to start is by identifying specific use cases and finding the right types of tools to help you. Whether it's you want to produce better content, you want to drive better website engagement, you want to increase sales, you want to write better proposals. Focus on that. Get comfortable doing that. Get your team working with it. Invest in training your team so they can learn the basics of it. As your company starts to get more culturally comfortable and familiar with doing some of the basic things, then you start looking at domain applications versus use cases. So domain would be something end to end, like how do we increase sales by 20% with AI? How do we launch a new product in this market with AI? That's a more of an end to end that involves multiple touch points in different departments across the business. Um, you'll see a much better uplift once you get to that point. But you have to do this pragmatically. It's not one of these things where you could just jump right in and get everybody involved. First, you have to start off. You have to dip your toe in the water. But in terms of
Well,
how long it takes, part of it's a big part of it's leadership, stakeholder alignment, how well you drive change. Do you have a culture of innovation and progress? That's going to have a big determination on how long it takes to get there. Um, Really managing expectations well, setting realistic expectations, coming up with clear KPIs on what success looks like, being very focused in your effort for the size of company that you are. If you're a small business, maybe trying to take on something that's really big is probably not the best way to start. Just start off with something that's practical that you can implement within 30 to 60 days, and then go from there.
so how do you go about finding the right tool? Because there's thousands of them right now out there, and
That there are, I think, when we did this a few weeks ago, it was over 50,000. So that
yeah,
that could be quite overwhelming. Uh, First, really focus on what is it that you're trying to solve.
yeah,
What problem? Instead of just saying, "Well, we want to AI our business," that's just too nebulous, right? Be
right.
very specific. Then do a search for that.
Just a
There
regular
are
Google search.
a Google search, and then of course now they have even AI embedded into Chrome, and
Yeah,
some of those other things that will help you try and shape in. There are sites like G2, which do a great job of comparing and contrasting software, so that you can kind of see the ratings and uses and how people do it. Uh, if you're looking in marketing, there's the Marketing AI Institute. They put together some really good research on a lot of the leading applications. So I'd start there. Talk to peers, find out what they're doing, how they're doing it. That will also get you there. Um,
cool.
Again, though, I mean, if you did nothing else but use the things you use today as they start to bring AI into it. So if you're using Microsoft Office, start using Copilot once it becomes available. If you're using Salesforce, turn on Einstein. If you're using Adobe, turn on Sensei. I, these things are already in your products that you might, and HubSpot, of course, has AI capability. Almost any software vendor that you're working with now either has or will have very soon AI capability because everyone's investing in this. So you don't necessarily have to go out and buy more tools to do the things that you need to do.
Yeah. And by the way, if you happen to be using Go High Level, which is a inexpensive version of what HubSpot does, they also have added AI to their stuff now too. So,
Yeah.
Jeff, how would people find you, and what would you like them to do if they did find you?
Well, they can come to my company website, pedowitzgroup.com. They can go to my URL, jeffpedowitz.com. Find me on LinkedIn, Facebook, or my email address, which is Jeff, Jeff at pedowitzgroup.com. Set up a conversation, and let's talk about how we can help you get from where you are to driving revenue with AI.
Cool. Cool. I have two things I want you to do. And the first I've been asking for 8 years now, almost 9 years, hard to believe. But go to wherever you're listening to this podcast and please leave us an honest rating and review. If you love us, give us 5 stars. If you don't, well, do less. And you might have to watch me cry a little bit, but I don't think it'll be that bad. Second thing is, one of the things I've noticed over the years, and I've been doing this for a while now, you probably can tell that, is that too many private business owners think their business is going to get them to retirement by itself. And I hate to tell you this, but about 97% of you, that's not going to be true. For 3% of you, that will be true. But for the 97%, it's a really good idea to know where you are and what strategies can get you to what I call financial freedom from your business. So we put together a program called the Financial Freedom Accelerator. It's a program that's designed to help you figure out what you need to do to go from where you are today to become financially free. It takes between 30 and 60 days to do it. It's pretty quick. And if you want to learn more about it and have a short conversation with me to see whether this would work for you, you go to www.sustainablebusiness.co/freedom. That's www.sustainablebusiness.co/freedom. And if you like what you see, click the button, talk to Josh, and we'll have a short conversation to see if the Financial Freedom Accelerator is right for you. So this is Jeff Pedowitz, and I'm Josh Patrick. You're at Cracking the Cashflow Code. Thanks a lot for stopping by. I hope to see you back here really soon.